Hi there, we are Wilhouse Solutions, and I am Hannah.
I'm Caden.
This semester, our team worked on building SafeRide, a safety focused mobile app for public transportation users. We followed a full UX process from scoping to prototyping to testing, and today we'll walk you through our journey. In the beginning of the semester, we started with a broad challenge: design a tool to help users solve their transportation needs. After some early brainstorming, we came up with several ideas right off from the bat. But looking back on it, they were all unrealistic and unideal. That wouldn't have made it out of a development phase if we never had done the rest of this class. One idea that stood out is the feeling of being unsafe, especially when you're traveling alone. That led to our guiding question: how can we make public transportation feel safer? Everything we did afterwards was just centered around that mission, and we were just in hope to look around the perfect solution for the issue.
We researched some users that we thought would be the perfect people to interview. They were all some users of public transportation, but they were all so wildly different that it made good data that both lined up and was differentiated. Our survey ended up very successful too. We ended up with about 70 responses, which is way more than we had expected, but it gave us some amazing data. We were able to see what the real problems were with which parts of public transportation. Some of our findings include the subways and buses are the least liked modes of transportation, and both are mainly due to the cleanliness and safety of each mode. Our user personas consisted of two different, very interesting people. One was AJS Train Guy, a subway user and regional rail user, and the other consisted of Rob L. Working Man. He was a bus user and subway user. Their goals are to be able to get to and from school and to and from work using public transportation because they both live in a city.
Once we figure out what our problem is, after multiple user survey responses, we were able to focus on what we needed to create for those problems. We knew cleanliness and safety were our biggest concerns. However, safety is the most important issue, and therefore we went with it. We created SafeRide, a mobile app that empowers riders to feel safer and stay connected. Here is how it works. Step 1 will be finding your subway. You can do this by inputting the time and location of your arrival and departure stop. Second, you'll be connected with the other safe ride users traveling the same subway and in the real time, essentially creating a buddy system with fellow commuters. Step 3 will be an emergency button. A highly visual emergency button is always available on the screen. If something goes wrong, the user can immediately tap it. Step 4 is after the user immediately taps in, SafeRide sends a real-time alert. Who is it sending to? It is sending to local transit authorities, let's say SEPTA authorities, and they are immediately informed about an alert or an emergency. Step 6 will be rapid response from their side. Whether it's in any form, help is ready and waiting at the next stop. We wanted riders to be able to have someone they can look to in order to stay together if something happens on the subway. SafeRide is built for everyone who uses public transit, whether it's commuters, students, tourists, and essentially those who often travel alone. Our goal is to turn a potentially isolating experience into one that feels safe and supported. In short, SafeRide isn't just an app. It's peace of mind in your pocket, whether it's connecting with fellow riders or knowing that help is one tap away and you are always safe. So SafeRide gives public transit users the safety tool they deserve.
In our design phase, we were brainstorming how to bring our idea to life. We created user flows and user stories to give us an idea of a situation a user might find themselves in when trying to use our app. These were able to help us start creating an app that will be both very functional and easy to use. Our user story started with two users, both opening apps for different reasons. One is getting on to use the app for traveling somewhere and keeping safe, and the other is using it to edit their profile for future use. Once we designed these user stories for what they might use the app for, we could start designing the user flows. We started with the homepage being the place to make a travel log and had the nav bar at the top leading you around the app. Once we got all these ideas, we were able to begin actually making a wireframe. The wireframe was a super simple, non-interactable design. It was an image that just showed how the app might look. We wanted to make sure we made a simple design so users aren't overwhelmed with information, and we wanted to include a big red emergency button in the event of an emergency happening that needs to be dealt with. After the wireframing was done, we started making it interactive so we could begin usability testing. We found that Figma limited a lot of what we could do without actually paying for it, but we were still able to make a decently working prototype that actually gave us a lot of valuable information once we began usability testing. Next, we tested our prototype with real users. We observed them complete key tasks like setting preferences and finding a buddy. A consistent issue was the users looked for preferences in the Settings tab, but we had placed them under the Profile tab. Another tester suggested a great feature, a temporary chat that opens only during the ride. This would allow the riders to communicate if needed without overcommitting socially. After the last phase of our project, we were intended to go back and continue to repeat the last few steps until our app is as close to perfection as possible. After only the one round of those steps, though, we were only able to get an idea of where to go from here. We found a few things about the usability of our app, and some users suggested some features we should add. The first thing we would change are where the user preferences are located, since we had put them in the profile page. In usability testing, when we asked users to make changes to something that we had assumed was a profile type preference, they all tried to use the Settings tab, which we had not fully implemented other than a simple clickable openable page with a notice that there's no content here yet. We would put these things in the Settings tab rather than the Profile tab to allow for a more fluid experience in the app. Our next thing we would change is we would add a chat feature. We had a user mention that a chat feature, which would be activated for the duration of being travel buddies, would be very useful and help in the event of something happening. Our usability tester suggested that when a user finds a travel buddy, they should be able to message them should something go wrong. It would add another layer of the goal of the travel buddy system, which is to stay accountable and safe in the event of something unexpected. Now, though it may not have been able to be iterated through a bunch and been able to be fully created by a team of developers, but we have created an idea for an app that would prove incredibly useful, productive, and easy to use, all for a great user experience.